this should be another kind of shorter video. I know I always say that and then ramble on for 3 hours, but hopefully for this video you have everything done in all your drawings, you have them all set up in Paperspace, and now you are ready to install the color plot table and print them out. And I'll show you two different ways that you can print them, whether you do it single or through the preferred method, which is a batch plot. So I have all of my sheets set up here, and I'm ready to go. I also have my site plan and my solution or my wall section open as well. I don't have the full title block here, so I'm going to just delete that. And what I'm going to do is not technically cheating, because again, I don't think it can be qualified as cheating if your teacher literally shows you how to do it. But we're going to kind of shortcut getting that title block in. So I'm just going to highlight all of it, Control C to copy, go into here, Control V to paste, and paste it on in. Take that little line and delete it. I don't want it that close. I'm going to highlight all of them. I just don't like how it's right on there. Move over, let's say 0.125. Perfect. And we're just going to update some of the stuff here in like the title block, which it looks like I didn't move the word project over, so I'm just going to move again straight over 0.125. So like your major, change your major up here depending on what your major is. For project, this is no longer, this is going to just be called exercise CAD. My last name and first name, the date. So again, I'm just going to put today's date. You put whatever your today's date is. Please don't just copy me, because there's no way you're doing this on March 21st. Or otherwise, you're rocking it. For scale, so for this one, we did 1 inch equals 30 feet. So a bit of a different scale. Title is, oh yeah, site plan. Thank you. I was thinking and I could not think. And this is going to be Civil 101, because this is a civil drawing and it's already done and scaled for us, and everything is kind of ready to go elsewise. So we can see here that it's already scaled if I double click in it. And by the way, if you are not intending on getting the extra credit points by adding these two drawings in, then feel free to skip to the timestamp in which I just go over how to print out these guys, because you won't need to set these up. So then everything's set up for this one to go. For my wall section, again, just change your major up here, change the project, change the name, which you might have already done this. Maybe if you were doing the wall section, you might have just seen this stuff here and already changed it. My scale is going to stay the same. My title is going to stay the same. My sheet number is going to stay the same. So now I have these two drawings ready to get added in, and this one. I'm going to just double check the page setup for these ones as well, because in the last demo I did the page setup for here. So that's where we did the right click, page setup manager, modify. We changed the plotter name. We made sure this said TEC1728 AutoCAD. For you guys, it probably has a little error code warning. I wonder if I do it to that one, which no, apparently not. That's just because I already have this in. And by the way, too, if you want to see the effects before, without having to go into preview, you can check off display plot styles there. And like I can see the effects in Paperspace without having to do any changes. So this way I can see if things are uh-oh time easily. The other way too that you can get into Page Setup Manager is if you go to the Output tab, you can click on it right here. And I'll just go into Modify. And yeah, good thing I'm checking this because my printer is set as the wrong printer. So I'm just going to set it to that DWG. I'm going to leave all of this other stuff alone. Check that this is what it says here. I'll check off display plot style. So I kind of like having that on because it helps me, see if there's things that I need to get rid of or change easily. So like there's this line right here that I didn't notice beforehand. So if I double click in that viewport, let me just see what that is. Okay, it's in the def point layer, so I'm not worried about it because it won't print. But I can just kind of preview things a little bit. And the same thing with my site plan is I can either in the Output tab or just right click Page Setup Manager, which this one I did change. Maybe I had done that earlier or not sure. But that my plotter name is DWG to PDF. My plot style is set to TEC1728 AutoCAD, which it should be doing by default. If it's not, don't worry because in a few steps I'm going to show you how to change it then. The unfortunate factor is you are going to have to go into page setup for every single one of your sheets and change it to that, which is a little bit of a bummer. Leave everything else alone. Sure, why not? I'll check that off just because, like I said, I just like seeing it. And I'm ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is download the color plot table. So as I've mentioned many a times without actually, there we go, showing you guys, color plot tables take the different color lines and associate them with different ways of printing. And so on As You Learn, there is a color plot table for you to download. So you're just going to download it and it'll go to your computer's download folder. So here I have it downloaded. And then if I go into my download section on my computer, I actually have two of them now. And I'm just going to double click on it so we can kind of see and understand a little bit of what it's doing. So if I look at it in the form view, it tends to be a little easier. Every one of these colors gets printed out with whatever's defined here. So the color red, pure red according to AutoCAD, which is this color 1, gets printed out black with a line weight of 0.6. Yellow gets printed out black with a line weight of 0.4. Gets printed out black with a line weight of 0.3. So this is why it was really important for you to make sure you're using the correct layer because that way you're using the correct color. I've seen some students in the past who are, let me go into model space. They're trying their absolute darndest, and I appreciate the fact that they're trying, but they're not sure about changing the layer, so they just come over to the properties here and they change it to a light blue. Or they go into more colors and they get it like, I'm just gonna try to make it as close to actual cyan as possible. This is not the color cyan. This is the color 69, 231, 242. Does it look awfully like this? You bet. But it does not act, when it comes to the plot table, the same as this. These are two different colors according to the plot table, so they act in two different complete functions. Not that I see that happen a lot with like these colors. I see it a lot with the grays. And we'll notice too, so what I'll do is I'll intentionally change this part of my hatch. I'm going to intentionally change it to that pattern layer, which to your eye, to my eye, doesn't really look a lot different than that. We're going to see when I go to print it how different that is going to turn out. because we have different things associated with them. And if I scroll all the way down to color 252, or whichever one is the one that the, maybe not, I can't remember exactly what color is the gray for there. So 252, it does get printed out with the color itself. The color 251 should be, which is what the pattern is also going to then get printed out very different. And it's just not going to be a good time, kids. So that is why we need to make sure we have our colors or our layers set correctly, because that color plot table and those different line weights, it's really going to mess us up. So now that I have my color plot table downloaded and I know where it is, and if you want to, you can also, like, I like to put things on my desktop too to just make sure I know where they are. Now I'm going to install it into the kind of plot table manager. So I'm going to click on the big red A. I'm going to go to the word print, and then I'm going to scroll down to manage plot styles. The other way I can get to this folder without going through the big red A, so this is for you Mac users, is to type in the command styles manager. And I can type the whole thing in, or I can just click on that option that pops up. Both of them are just going to lead me to this same folder. What I'm going to do then is open up two Finder windows, essentially. So I've got one window of downloads, one of that plot styles, and I'll just delete it out of here. So that way it's no longer in here. And I'm just going to drag and drop this into the plot styles folder. So out of my downloads folder, drag it into plot styles. X out, and I should be able to X out as well. Now, just to double check that it's working, what you can do is right click on any one of your tabs here and go into your page setup manager, modify it, and it should no longer be showing you that error little sign. And if it is, just click on the drop down and you should be able to go find the TEC1728 AutoCAD file. Another way then that you can double check too is, like I said, if you check off that display plot styles, it'll give you a preview before actually looking at a preview. And now we can see that big uh-oh I was referring to, of how the post layer just gets printed out a light gray. The pat layer certainly does not. And so then that could be my first kind of like kind of light bulb moment that I did something wrong. So I can double click inside this viewport, click on the hatch, and see kind of, oh, I have it as the wrong layer, and I can go and switch it, double click outside to fix it. You can also just click on the print and preview them that way, and that can work too. So if I click on the little printer button up here, or file, print, I can do a print preview, which will show me without having to necessarily have that checked off over here in the plot style thing, or the print manager. I can kind of give a preview of what it might look like. Now, two ways I could print everything out. Once I have everything set up, all of my layers are right, all of my text is in there, all of my little annotations and notes and leaders, everything's perfect in my drawing. Two ways to print. One way, the technically correct way, is the batch plot, which tends to give some students some fight back. And I do remember the first time I kept trying to do batch plots, I just would get so frustrated, so angry. I really don't know what I have done to make them like me now, but apparently they do, and I'm not going to argue with them. So I'm going to show you how to do a batch plot, and then I'm going to show you what I would do when I was a student who just hated doing batch plots, how I would kind of work my way around it and no one would kind of know the difference. I only ever had one teacher that figured out that's what I was doing, and she just did not care because I got the assignment done, so who cares? um, so to do a batch plot, big red A, print, batch plot. And what this does is it opens up all the current layouts that I have. So for my publish to, I could leave it set up as plotter name in the drawing, or I could say to go to PDF. I'll just usually leave it as plotter name in page setup. For my options, I almost always, which I realize I don't have my pointer thing on, so I'm just going to turn that on for you guys right now. Whoops. Boop. I like to save things to my desktop for a few reasons. One, I keep my desktop very uncluttered. So this way, just kind of as I'm getting temporary files, I just like to save to the desktop. Or you can put it, like on your flash drive. Just kind of put it somewhere where you're going to be able to access it. So I'm just going to leave it to my desktop because that's what works best for me. You save it to wherever you want to save it though. Now here are all of the different pages that I currently have. So we have model space for our AutoCAD drawings, then all of those layouts and sheets that we set up, model space for my wall section, and then the paper space that I set up, and then an extra paper that I copied and made, model space for my site plan, and then the site plan itself. So here in batch plot, you can click on and delete different drawings that you don't want included. So I always get rid of the model spaces. So I always just remove those. I'll get rid of this extra sheet that I have here. And then you can also move sheets around in this list for how they get printed. So I want this site plan to be right after the cover sheet. So I'm just going to keep clicking on that until it moves up. And I'm actually going to leave the wall section all the way at the very end. Not sure what this sheet is either. Oh, this is just an extra copy I made. So that this way I'm only printing out the layouts of the sheets that I want in my finalized drawings. There is, as far as I know, no way to preview the whole thing. There is a way to preview individual sheets. So I can do a preview of each sheet and how it would appear in the batch plot. So I could click on this one, preview it, say, okay, everything's good to go. Click on this one, preview it. Okay, everything's good to go. Hit escape. But there's no way to preview the entire thing until it happens. So then what you'll do is you'll click publish. It'll ask you, do you want to save the current list of sheets? I've tried yes, don't know where it saves them. So I just say, no thanks, and I'll even check off always just don't. And then what it's going to do is it's going to run a batch publish in the background. So there's a little icon down here that's kind of going, it's acting like a printer printing stuff out. It's printing that along in the background, and what it's going to do is combine the paper space layouts from these 3 files into one single file for me automatically. So it's going to take all of the layouts that I told it to do in here. So I told it to skip this one. It's not going to do this one. How great, how nice. I told it also for like here to skip this little copy I made, also preferred. And it's just going to run in the background. If I hover over it, it'll tell me that it's done 3 out of 8 sheets. So what I'm going to do is just pause, wait for it to say that it's complete, and then I'll unpause, and it'll be like I never left for you. All right, and it's all done. You could probably see since the time in the corner, it might have changed a minute maybe. So it doesn't necessarily take a long time for something like this since it's only 8 sheets. But what I can do now is minimize AutoCAD, and I'll minimize this. And oh no, why did it do them all as different ones? It wasn't supposed to do that. It's supposed to make them all as one. Did it do them all as one? Well, is that what this is? No. Huh? Oh no. Weird. Let me go into my settings. See, you guys will just watch me troubleshoot. So it did print them all as individual sheets, which is not what I wanted it to do. Don't know why. Let me look in my settings with you guys. I'll troubleshoot myself live. If it is giving me big troubles, then I might just re-record this. We'll find out. So let me do a batch plot again. After I just told you I made them like me now. I'll get rid of this. Get rid of this one. Get rid of this one. Technically, I could use exactly what it just did for me, and I'll show you why or how in a moment when I'll show you the way I used to just put them all in one piece. Let's try, instead of plotter and setup, let's try just publish to PDF. Ah, is that it? So we're going to try that. Instead of doing the plotter thing, we're going to say PDF. Let's preview a couple of them just to make sure it's still using my plotter stuff. Good. Great. Okay. So that could be the reason why. We're going to see. I'll do another one. I'll even time it this time for you guys. And I'm just making sure that it's going to my desktop multi-sheet file. Maybe I didn't have that checked off last time. I'll have to look back at the video, but maybe I didn't have that checked off. And I'll click on publish. And now it's prompting me, okay, so I think this could be it, that I had to have it published to PDF instead of the plotter name. And this is where I can give it a name, so I'll just call it TEC1728. Last name all caps, first name all lowercase, CAD exercise, PDF, and I'm saving it to my desktop because that for me is what works best for me. You would work better just saving it to a flash drive or into my documents. Do that. I'll hit select, and then it'll run in the background, and I'll unpause for you guys when it's all done. Right, so it's finished. It took maybe about a minute and a half, which that's because I only have about 8 sheets of paper. And also, though, this computer was, while it's not the newest computer, it has been, we ordered all the specs for it because it was made to do CAD work, so kind of keep that in mind. If you have a slower computer, it might not be as fast. But now, on my desktop, I have this one singular file. These were from my original and I have one singular file where if I double click on it, it has all of my sheets all in one. And the thing I love about doing these two in like the Adobe Reader is that even then your layers are still here. So you can still like hide layers and make them go bye-bye. Which I just think is like so cool that still transfers over in Adobe. So I've got all of like my line work and everything here ready to go. I can scroll through my sheets and just make sure everything's set up the way I want to. Yay, yay. Let me double check that because it looked a little weird at first, but I guess it's not. It's okay. And wonderful. I have everything as one completed PDF with the color plot table installed, ready to go. Now, if you cannot get batch plots to work properly, then here's what you can do. And I'll delete all of these to show you even without using them. just because I was able to problem solve so much faster than I thought I would be, is we can print each one of them out individually. So I'll go to the cover sheet, I'll go to the big red A, or I can even just click on this plot here, and then I'll just preview it, make sure everything's great, click on OK, and then I'm just going to save this to my desktop, and I'm just going to save this one as cover. It'll print it out. If you have Adobe Reader, it might open up Adobe for you automatically. I'll just X out of that. I'll go to my foundation plan, print, so that's this shortcut here, or the red A, print. I always like to preview my drawings before I print them just to double check that everything is the way I want them to be, because you never know. That's usually where I find all my mistakes. Hit enter or escape to get out of the preview. Okay, and then I'm going to name this one foundation. You can also just like number them too. So I can number this as like 1, and then I can call this or I'll start numbering them like 2 foundation. And then I can go to the floor plan. I can also right click plot. Keyboard shortcut 2 is the command plot. Bunch of ways that I could get to this screen. Make sure that everything's set the way, so you can also change these two while you're printing, as you can change this to be the plot style you want. You can change your paper size, you can change your plotter. Preview it to make sure it's okay. It's beautiful, it's a work of art. I'll click OK. I'll name this one floor plan. And so essentially I'm just going to go through and print out each sheet individually. Why is that def point line coming through? I can see why, because I changed it. Uh-oh. Def point. Was that also on my floor plan? I hope not. No. Weird. There we go. Now it's back. See, I could have made an uh-oh. Thank goodness I previewed it. So I'll go into the plot tool. Preview it. Everything's good to go. Okay. South elevation. Really, what you named them here doesn't matter because you are just going to combine them later. Plot. Okay, I'm not going to check. I should probably check it. But I'm not going to. I'm going to live on the edge. Especially since I'm technically not turning this in for a grade. Building section. Print. Bunch of ways you could get to the print thing. So I've showed you pretty much all of them. Okay. Okay. Building section. And then I can go into this one, file as well, print, which is giving me an error saying, hey, we couldn't find your printer. So that's where I tell it, don't worry, just use this one. Plotter style, which I just realized I'm in the wrong sheet. That's why it's giving me all these errors, but we'll see. It'll still work. Well, all of that's wrong too, though. I'll go back into the other sheet. I'm just too much of a scaredy cat. Print. Preview. Good to go. Okay. I'll name this one 7 wall section. And I'll go into my site plan, print, preview it. And if you find errors or things that are wrong, that's when instead of just clicking OK, you go into cancel, you go back into model space, you make those changes, you fix those mistakes, and I'll call this one um, 01 site plan. This way it will make it easier when I load it into the combining thing. Since they're just kind of numbered, they'll go in a little bit of an easier order. And I have all of mine printed as individual ones. I'm just going to right click on that guy and rename him 00 cover. So now I have all of these files. 6, 7, and that's it. I got them numbered weird. It's fine. Where they are on the desktop doesn't matter. And now I'm going to go to Combined PDF. So combinedpdf.com, where I can just take a bunch of PDF files, put them all into one file. So I'll go upload. I'll look from my downloads folder, or rather my desktop folder for me. And you can also change how these look too, so I can have it go by detail and then just say put them in name order. So it's easier to just select all of them. If I hold shift, I could just start at this top one and then click on the bottom one and load them all in at once. And if they aren't even in the order you want them in, you can move them around here in Combined PDF too. So like if the site plan is all the way at the end, sometimes it's a little harder to drag it from the one side to the other one. There we go. So now like site plans over here, but if I just keep dragging it, eventually it gets onto this one. So you can move them around here. Click on Combine. Puts them all into one nice neat file. It'll be located in your downloads folder. So I'll go into my downloads folder. There it is, Combined PDF. I can right click and rename it. So that way it's named all nice. Whoops. I want my last name, first name. I can't spell. And then if I double click on it, I have an 8-page document with all the files in there. I don't think the layers show up anymore. Oh no, oh, they kind of do. Not really. That's probably how my teacher figured out that that's what I was doing. But anywho, it's a file with all of your drawings combined without having to do a batch plot. So instead of doing batch plot, if you can't get it to work, you can just do a single print of each one of them. So for submitting your work for this assignment, you are going to submit your CAD file itself. So I should already have, if you're using these two as part of extra credit, I already have them from the site plan assignment and the wall section assignment. Adding in the printed copies into your PDF file here is, in my opinion, an easy way to get some extra points on this one CAD assignment, because you already had to do this wall section to get credit for it as its own assignment, and now you could get bonus points in this big project to just add it in there. Same thing with the site plan. You already had to make it, so you can just get some extra bonus points to just slip it in the other assignment, or slip it in this major project as well. But you're going to give me two files. One is the PDF printed copy of your drawings, of all of the drawings combined, whether you do it as a batch plot or do it as the separate drawings that I just showed you. That's fine. I don't care which one you go with. And then the other file you're going to give me is this AutoCAD file itself. So just the CAD exercise file. I do not need you to submit the CAD files for the wall section and the site plan, because as I mentioned, you should have already submitted them for those separate assignments as well. And that is how to perform a print job in CAD. It's the same process too if I was printing to a physical printer, but I don't want you to print me physical copies. Um, and on As You Learn too, there is a PDF that kind of walks through step by step what I just spoke or guided you through visually in this video. So there's PDF instructions as well for how to print it out. And with that, I wish you luck finishing up your assignments. If you have questions, please, please, please email me. I would love to help out, and I'll see you in the next one.